Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hi, everyone. It's an absolute joy to welcome as a guest to the show today former Miss USA, Terri Britt. She is also a TEDx speaker, a spiritual coach, intuitive healer, and founder of Women Leaders of Love Global Community. She is the author of several books, including her award-winning The Enlightened Mom, a mother's guide for bringing peace, love, and light to your family's life, and Message Sent, Retrieving the Gift of Love. Terri has been seen on shows such as Today, Fox, NBC New York, and Good Day Atlanta, as well as contributed to HuffPost. She is also the former news anchor for Movie Time, now known as E! Terri is the co-owner of Jumping Goat Coffee Roasters in Helen and Cleveland, Georgia, with her husband Charlie, and is a wife, mom, stepmom, and nana. For over 2 decades, Terri has helped women raise their worthiness quotients to break the generational cycle of lack, stress, and struggle so they become thriving examples for their families, community, and the world. Welcome, Terri. I'm awestruck at all of the adventures that you've been on,
There have
all
been
the
some
roles
adventure.
that you've held and that you hold, and it's amazing. I just love it. Welcome.
I have to tell you, thank you. Yeah, when I look at my life, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. And I often tell people in their 20s, because my daughter, my youngest, just turned 30. And I've always telling my kids and other young people, be on this exploration, be on the adventure, because every little piece is going to make a difference. Like my television background makes a difference in how I show up on these podcasts, right? It all makes a difference. And so it's like, embrace the journey, see where it's going to take you, go for the adventure.
I love that so much. I love, love, love that. And I'm excited for this conversation today. I would love for you to share with us, what inspired you to to do what you're doing today, supporting so many other people in finding their worthiness. And I really feel like worthiness, all roads kind of lead back to that, right? Because
Yes.
usually we're the only ones in the way of
Yes.
whatever it is that we want to achieve.
Well, it's interesting because I was a straight A student. I was president of this, president of that through school. And you would have thought that I felt worthy, but I did not. And I always felt alone. I always felt like I was not loved. I just had this whole story in my head. And I can remember the aloneness started from about 7 years old. I went to a neighbor's house to play and nobody was there. I remember sitting on the front lawn, looking around going, I'm all alone in this world. So that's pretty horrible belief system to make. You make a decision pretty much in that moment, right? I made a decision. I am all alone. So my filter became, I am all alone. So my whole mission was, let me win your love so I'll feel loved. I didn't know that's what was happening, right? But my life, it literally became a hamster wheel. Let me be the best. Let me do it right. And the reason I did that is because my dad, he was the one who was deified in our house. He was God. He had the last say about everything. And he felt like he was the one seen, heard, and valued. He was the one out in the world. So it was like, well, dang, I'm going to be like my dad, because mama seems suppressed, right? Mama, she denied herself completely for my sister and me. She denied her dreams. She got married at 18, had me at 19. She was just very, very suppressed. So as this little kid, I'm observing going, who do I want to be like? I want to be like my dad. And, but no matter how much I strived at trying to win at life, and I won a lot, I didn't feel loved and I didn't feel fulfilled. So then I'd get angry. I'd get controlling. Have you ever felt that way where it's just like you're not feeling like you want to feel, and all of a sudden you lash out or you wear your happy face mask? Well, that was me. And it was miserable. It was pretty miserable. Where it started to shift, it took a long time, but where the shift began is when I was in college. I followed my boyfriend to a school that didn't have a broadcasting department, and yet I wanted to be in broadcasting. I was so dysfunctional that I thought, I have to give up myself to receive your love. Well, I was miserable. I was at a school that didn't offer what I wanted, and I tried to put my fist in my boyfriend's window. I mean, I was just really angry and a mess. So I remember my second semester of my sophomore year of college, I'm talking to a friend about how much I hate school. Well, his reply was, well, don't go. I said, well, I have to. And then he asked, says who? And Jennifer, it was so crazy in that moment. He asked, or the fact that he asked that question and it hit me like this intuitive hit came over me and said, I have to leave school, which was so against what I was used to doing, because I was that need to be the best, need to get it, win. And I did. I stepped off of the hamster wheel. I moved home. My apartment went rented without any effort. It was like I got into this amazing defined flow. And a few months later, entered Miss Arkansas on a whim because I really wanted to move to Los Angeles and thought, well, maybe I'll get a break. I won. 2 weeks later, not 2 months, but 2 weeks later, left for Miss USA. And then got on stage and talked. Bob Barker says, what do you do in Cabot, Arkansas on a Saturday night? And I said, well, Bob, in the winter, we stay at home, but in the summer, we go downtown to the Tasty Freeze. We sit on the back of my friend's truck. He plays the banjo, and the guys drink a little beer and dip a little skull. It's a real good time. And I won. I won. And it was really interesting because even though I won, I still didn't feel fulfilled. I still didn't feel loved. And I'm like, is this it? I had so many emotions going on. I even considered giving the crown back that night because I thought it was going to screw up my boyfriend's life, because it meant he was going to be left behind in Arkansas and I was being sent to New York. I mean, I was a mess. So I got back on the hamster wheel, but I've always been kind of an observer of life, and I reflected on that whole situation, and I started getting grounded a little bit, just a little bit, in the belief that when you listen to your heart and stand in your truth, miracles show up. So I was actually understanding without understanding the law of attraction, the law of vibration, right? I loved myself enough to leave school. I stood in my truth and talked about drink a beer and dip in skull. I was very authentic. I was in alignment in that moment. And then I won Miss USA, and it was amazing. It was amazing. It was a wonderful gift. But that seed that said miracles show up when you love yourself, it was a game changer. But I didn't really understand it until I became a wife and mom, and I realized that I was trying to be the best wife and mom again, but then I'd blow up at my kids and I blame my husband for my unhappiness. And I was miserable, and I knew I was perpetuating a cycle of lack, stress, and struggle. And so I made a decision to heal. I got into an energy school and got on a spiritual journey. I started learning about energy and intuitive healing. I was blown away because as I was healing, I was discovering gifts I didn't know I had. I always knew I was pretty good at a lot of things, but I did not know I was really good at anything. Have you ever had that feeling where it's like, well, I'm like the jack of all trades. I can go fix a vacuum cleaner and I can go model on a stage, but I don't know what I'm really good at. So that was a big deal for me to start understanding that. But what was really cool is finding my gifts, started seeing my outer world as a mirror to my inner world. If I reacted to my kids, my hubby, my friends, just life in general, I knew it was a gift to go within and love the little girl inside of me. And the more I did that, the more I felt seen, heard, and valued. And I finally realized the reason I had never felt loved is because I'd been looking for it outside of myself. I needed to find it within. And that became the rest of my life. So for over, that's happened in 95. And then at the beginning of 2000 is when little Terri showed up, my little inner child. And so I've been coaching women and people. I've coached people from all walks of life: television executives, entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, doctors, teachers, moms, dads, all of them. But what I really see is that the more we live on this hamster wheel, if you look at the energy of it, what we're doing is we're saying, who I am is not enough,
Hmm?
right? So our actions, which are created because of our thoughts and our feelings, drive us to, take action. And if we're living by false beliefs that say, I have to work myself to be death to be loved, I have to deny myself to be loved, I can't receive unless I prove my worth. If we have beliefs like that, then we're going to continue to stay on that hamster wheel. And what we're doing energetically, sending a message to the universe saying, I don't deserve love. I deserve punishment. I
Mhm.
deserve punishment. And so what we're doing is we're actually coming from a low worthiness quotient. Your worthiness quotient is how open you are to receiving love, nurturing, support, abundance, guidance, simply for being you. It means no longer performing, no longer living in poverty consciousness. So that became my mission, was because as I shifted from that poverty conscious mindset and started breaking the cycle for my family, I moved into prosperity consciousness, which meant I would love myself, take action, and move into alignment with God, with the, this all loving energy of the universe. And because I was holding the space of I'm worthy of being seen, heard, and valued by loving that little kid inside of me, the universe says, oh, you want to experience love? Okay, we see you want to experience love. Let's send you some love. And so it really became a thing of, instead of chasing love and approval from the outside world and try to prove my worth, my focus became on raising my worthiness quotient by loving myself so that I could move into a divine flow like I had done when I won Miss USA.
Yeah.
Right? It was like that seed was planted then, but when I started really getting grounded in, oh, if I love myself, I move into alignment with the way I was created. I move into alignment with God, the all loving energy of the universe. And if I'm in an alignment, I feel good, I feel worthy, and I'm open and receptive. I'm no longer in a fear state. I'm in peaceful, I'm calm, I'm cool, I'm collected. And then I can receive the abundance that is there for me. So my feeling, you asked me why I do this, is because I look at our world and it is in such disarray. I don't know a better word. Division. It's people are in lack, stress, and struggle because they haven't owned their worth. If they had owned their worth, they
Mhm.
would trust that the universe has their back. They would
Mhm.
trust that they are enough, that they can speak their voice, that they can shine their light. They don't have to hide, and that they are safe in being who they are. And when you do that, you end competition, you end lack, you
Mhm.
end you against me, right? So that's why I do what I do, because one, I've seen how it's changed my life and my family. I've seen how it's changed the people I've worked with over the years. And I've been shown the vision of how humanity can change if we will all own our worth by loving ourselves unconditionally.
And it's a beautiful vision, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah. I've seen it too.
Yeah.
I really want to touch on love because you brought that up a few times, and I'd love to get your love, no pun intended. I'd love to get your thoughts on this because, even people that consider themselves to be fairly enlightened and aware, right, still operate a lot from the human mind, not the divine mind, but the human mind, right? And that's where the lack and scarcity comes from. That's where the lack of worth comes from. And love doesn't come from the mind, it comes from the heart. And I feel like in order for us to make the transformation, and I say transformation implying change, but I really mean it from in a context of remembrance, right? In order to remember the true divine essence of who we are, we need to make that switch from
Mhm.
operating primarily from the human mind to opening up our heart. And
Mhm.
our heart is the center of the spiritual and physical. I feel like
Yeah.
that's through opening our heart is how we get off of that hamster wheel and really step into the love that you're talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's interesting because when you talk about the heart, my heart was shut down for many, many, many years. And if anything, I had my fists up. I felt like I had to defend myself. My mom, of course, she loved me the way she knew how to love, and she did her very best, but she was very much suppressed. And so she wanted me to be suppressed. She lived by the good girl rules and she expected me to do the same. Well, my ego said, okay, this is what I have to do. But my spirit was going, no, you don't. So there was this battle, and I'd have my fist up going, oh, I have to fight for who I am. So it didn't feel very loving. And I often felt like I was going to be attacked. I think that's a big thing that a lot of people have, especially if you were raised in a lot of punishment. You can feel this. If I stand in my truth, I'm going to be attacked. I'm going to be punished. I'm going to, who knows, be hit, whatever. And so I had a lot of that energy that kept my heart shut down. I was in a contracted fetal state for many, many years. You would have never known it. I mean, I walked around with my head up and being so optimistic, but on the inside, it was complete chaos. So it was when I became what I call the divine mother to little Terri. I was meditating one day on unconditional love, and little Terri, the 5-year-old inside of me, showed up. And I'm crying, going, and I realize I've never loved her. I've never acknowledged her. And I hear in my ear, get up and write this. Well, that was the beginning of my first book, Message Sent. And as I paid attention to my outer world and saw how I was hurting, I would go within and ask little Terri, what's hurting? What's the belief that's causing you to suffer? Because I knew if it was causing me to suffer, it was false.
Mhm.
And I would also ask her, what do you need from me to feel loved? And as I did that, I became the authority. Well, what happens when you become the authority of your life instead of performing, trying to win love and approval? Emotional chaos starts settling down,
Mhm.
right? Because you're no longer thinking, I should do this, I should do that, I have to do this. Instead, you're going, okay, what's right for me? What is it? What is my truth? What is it that I need to stand in love? And so the more I did that, the more receptive I got to divine guidance. So I started feeling a deeper connection to the essence of God inside of me and around me. Everything became a messenger. If a bird shows up, I live in the mountains of Georgia. If a bird flies by, especially a hawk, I'm like, what are you here to tell me? If a hummingbird comes up to the window, what are
Mhm.
you here to tell? I mean, one day I'm sitting here in my office, my window's open, and a hummingbird comes right in over my desk and stares me right in the face.
Yeah,
Okay. So
I'm here.
I'm here, and they're all about joy, right? And I was doing
Yeah.
some writing, and I had been wondering what I was writing about that day, and that hummingbird came in like, "Oh, I'm writing about joy today." So what happened for me is I started feeling such a presence of God inside of me and around me that my heart expanded. I felt safe. I felt loved. I felt nurtured. I felt guided. So it became no more about, let me perform for everybody. It became, my focus is on being in connection to God, into that divine source. That is my number one focus every single day. Yeah, I start my morning in meditation. If I don't, for some reason, if I have to get up and run and I don't get up early enough, I'll do it at some point in the day to just get in that connection, do my automatic writing, let the journaling come through, because I get messages that just come through over and over and over again. And for me, that is my number one focus.
Mhm.
So when I feel that immense love and support through me being the divine mother to little Terri, and then feeling this presence inside of me and around me, my heart opens up to the people around me. My heart can see someone acting out in negativity and see the little kid inside of them hurting. I mean, before little Terri ever showed up for me years ago with my late husband, we're bickering one day, sitting at breakfast somewhere, and all of a sudden I get this flash in my mind's eye as I see him as this little boy. And he's saying, please, please don't beat me up anymore. I can't handle it. It literally sucked the breath out of me, because I realized that he was just this big, massive guy that looked like a pro football player, but inside he was this little boy
Mhm.
who was very wounded. So for me, as I recognized my own pain and suffering and loved it, I've been able to love other people's pain and suffering on a easier, easier way. We're used to, it was me against them. It was competing or judging them or blaming them. Now it's like, oh, I see you're struggling. I see it. And, so I hold the space. Um, to me, to be in that connection, oh man, it's, I know,
Yes. They're not
I know.
words. They're actually our human languages are actually very limiting. There are so many experiences that we have, right? That there aren't words for. And yes, there aren't words for that. I'm so happy that you bring up inner child too, because I'll tell you, this has been the case for my personal ascension journey. Also, for every client I've ever worked with, there is always a component of our inner child, right? That needs attention, that needs healing, that needs nurturing and love
Mhm.
in order to help us achieve sustainable growth, sustainable ascension on our journey, right? There is always an inner child. Every behavior or self-sabotaging habit or negative feeling that we have always goes back to some kind of conditioning or program that we've been running, right? That may have served us at the time when we were young in order to protect ourselves, but then carries itself into our adulthood and doesn't evolve as we evolve, right? So I'm so
Right.
happy that you bring that up, and I'd love for you to share with the listeners, because I feel like, especially I've been talking about this for the last few years, the changes are happening so rapidly in the collective, right?
Mhm.
You mentioned earlier, I think, the chaos, that's happening in the world right now, and things always appear worse before they get better. It's like our planet, humanity, is experiencing a collective awakening, and so with that, right, there are so many individuals that are feeling called to step into deeper expression of their truth, who they really are and what they're really here to do. So now I'm finally getting to my question for you, which is, what would your advice be for someone to cross that threshold, someone who's on
Mhm.
that initiatory path right now, to actually jump timelines essentially and to embody their
Wow,
highest
that is
version.
such a good question. And so for me, I was raised that putting God first is putting yourself last.
Mhm.
And so I see a lot of this where people have a real issue where they're trying to love themselves, right?
Yes.
But the shame and the guilt that is buried inside of them for doing that keeps them out of alignment.
Mhm.
So if they're wanting to create something like, "Oh, I've found this new path that I want to travel and I see myself doing this and that," that energy holds a vibration that is here up, like if you put your hand in front of your face. But yet if you're holding guilt and shame that it's really not okay to receive, it's really not okay to love myself, or even deeper with this conscious mass consciousness that says I have to deny myself to be loving, to put God first, however you want to word it. If you're holding that, that's going to be down, that other hand's going to be down here at your waist, right? These two hands are not matching. So you've
Mhm.
got to let go of the shame and the guilt to be able to move into alignment so that whatever you're feeling inside matches what you want to create, because that's when we manifest. So for me, it's about committing to loving yourself unconditionally. So in every moment asking, am I performing for
Mhm.
love and approval, or am I loving that little kid inside of me? Right? Because when we love that little kid inside of us, we're sending a message that says, who I am is enough. I'm
Mhm.
worthy of being seen, heard, and valued. And so by committing to being the divine parent to that little kid, divine dad, divine mom, whatever you are, man, woman, to see that little kid inside of you and say, I'm committed to you. You are now my appendage, and I'm going to love you and be the authority here, not other people. So it's about taking back your power. So committing to unconditional love, become the divine parent to that little kid inside of you, and then really paying attention to when you're reacting to your outer world and saying, what's the gift? And then go within and ask that little kid, what is the false belief you're holding on to that is creating your pain and suffering? Let the memories surface, let the feelings come up. And I call that the retrieving the gift of love process. So allow that to take you to the belief and recognize that if it is causing you pain and suffering, it is not the truth. If you have a belief that, well, nobody hears me, that is not the truth. That's what you've been programmed to believe. I bet you can find one or two places in your life that somebody hears you. And so you can start switching the truth on that, right? And you say, no, wait, so-and-so hears me. So-and-so, wait, maybe I've just been believing this. Maybe that's the decision I made as a little kid because my mom or dad didn't hear me in that moment, right? So you change it. But here's the key. When you talk to that little kid and say, what do you need from me to feel loved? And then you take action, that child is now learning, oh, someone does listen to me. Someone does hear me. Someone does love me and nurture me enough to take action. And so it's about becoming the divine parent. It's about really, truly committing to, I can only change my life and I'm going to act upon the messages that I get. I mean, every single day I sit in meditation. I just, run energy, just clearing out my energy. And then I go into gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for whatever, 2 or 3, 5 things, whatever that I'm grateful for. And then I have a conversation with little Terri and say, what do you need from me to feel loved today? Another thing that I do is because as I've gotten clearer, I open up and I ask God, I ask whoever, I ask guides. I have guides that I work with. What do you want me to know today? What is my guidance? And then I take action. So I think of it as my own holy little trinity, me, the divine mother to my inner child, and then God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, source, allowing that energy to guide me from the other side. So getting in touch with my heart, what is my truth, and then surrendering to allow the universe to support me. That's what I do. And that's what I would invite people to do, to really commit to loving yourself unconditionally and stop performing.
Thank you for sharing that. Something else that you've touched on a couple of times, I'd love to put emphasis around for everyone listening, is the importance of daily practices and
Mm-hmm.
being consistent in those daily practices. You've mentioned meditation a couple of times, and you shared some other things that you do a few moments ago, because changing a lifetime of beliefs, right, about yourself requires diligence and consistency, because you're literally creating new neural pathways. You're literally changing at a cellular level in your body. So I just want to emphasize that because it's so important. Because another thing that we've been conditioned very much by society is a program around quick fixes.
Oh, yes.
And yes, I want to say there are absolutely miracles that happen, right? Absolutely, there are miracles in the world. More often than not, the magic is happening in your life in the day to day intentional choices that you're making.
Yes, absolutely. And I couldn't agree more with that. And let me tell you, we talked about at the very beginning about being on an adventure, right? And because
Yes.
you're talking about all the different things, there has been no greater adventure in my life than doing the inner work. Because one, when I say, oh wow, you mean that is not the truth? This is the truth. What is my truth? Oh, this is it. And then give myself permission to be in that truth is like, whoa, that feels so good. And then to allow myself to open up to have the other side guide me. I work with my guides. It started off with Michael, the archangel, which was just, he came in as a healing master years ago in a class. And then Michael, the movie came out that time. This was back in the 90s. And I kept going to see it. My girlfriend's like, don't you find it interesting? You keep going to see the movie Michael and your healing master is Michael. And I went, oh, I work with Archangel Michael. Well, no, a lot of people do. And then it's transitioned over the years to where I feel Mother Mary, Christ, and Mary Magdalene. They come in every single day. When I'm journaling, Christ says, dear sister. When Mother Mary comes in, she says, dear child. And when Mary Magdalene comes in, she says, dear sister in Christ. And so I know who I'm talking to. And Mary Magdalene just revealed herself last week. I've never talked to her, and she said, dear sister in Christ. I'm like, who is this? And she says, Mary Magdalene. I'm like, oh, well, welcome. I was totally surprised. But I trust it because the guidance is so loving and wise and kind and truthful that I just follow it, and it feels like, yay, I'm not alone. I'm on this grand adventure. And when people can get rid of their fear, their scarcity mindset that I need to stay in survival, because when we stay on the hamster wheel, we're strictly in survival, we're in poverty consciousness. But when we commit to this adventure on the inside and that unconditional love and become the divine parent to the little kid inside of us, opening up for this guidance, oh my gosh, we not only move into prosperity consciousness, but it becomes so much fun. Oh my gosh.
It
I mean,
is fun.
it is so freaking fun.
Yes, it's so
I've
much
had,
fun.
it is so much fun. I have had so much joy over the years because I can be in a dark night of the soul, right? And when I go
Mhm.
into the dark night of the soul, I'll be going, okay, I'm really upset right now, but thank you for the gift. I know there's a miracle happening right here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I immediately go into gratitude. I'll let myself feel, but I'm like, thank you. I'm so ticked right now, but thank you, you know? And as I allow myself to feel the feelings, release, and then give myself permission to just receive the gift, wow, on the other side, I'm like, oh, thank you. What an
Yes,
adventure to my soul, right? Oh, so cool.
I love that. For those who want to take a deeper dive, you've shared some amazing gifts with us too, which we'll
Sure.
include in the show notes. Can you tell us about your worthiness quotient quiz?
Quiz.
I hope I got
Yes.
the name of that right.
That's a
And your
mouthful.
program.
So the worthiness quotient quiz, everything that I do is a download. I don't just like, oh, I'm going to go do this. I get these hits that, okay, create this. So the worthiness quotient quiz is a quiz. It's going to take about 3 to 5 minutes to help you look at, are you open to receiving? I sound like a Southerner there for a minute, receiving. There's 8 different sections. There's, relationships, there's money, there's career, there's miracles, there's passion, health, there's all kinds of stuff, and there's going to ask you questions about, and the key is to check in with your feelings, be really honest with yourself. How do you feel? And you just, mark yes, disagree, not whatever, agree and not agree, disagree, fully agree, whatever. It's the way it's listed. So what happens is at the end, you get a full personal report where there's breakdowns of the different sections, and it's going to show you where you've owned your worth in different sections and where you haven't. And it's
Mhm.
going to give you an overall number. So what's really cool about this is going to show you where you need to put energy to really raise your vibration, to own your worth. Because remember, when you love yourself, you own your worth, and then that's when you open up to be be receptive to the things you want. So that's a really cool quiz. So you'll get a full report. And what's so fun is to see people who do the quiz and then focus on self-love and releasing the shame and the guilt over the next 6 months, and then come back and take the quiz again. They're like, holy crap, I can't believe
Love
it.
that. Yeah.
you know so that is just terribritt.com/quiz. Really, really fun. And then my program, if you want to go deeper, is called the Worthiness Quotient: Claim Your Crown, Lead a Life You Love. Because my story of winning Miss USA, I won, but I didn't claim my crown. I won it, but it took me years to claim my crown of that I am worthy of love. I'm worthy of being seen, heard, and valued. So this course is 6 modules with 3 intense class meditations in each one. So each session is about 90 minutes. It's broken down in 30-minute sections, so you can do it easily. And what we do is we go in, and you were asking earlier about if somebody's starting and they're wanting to cross the bridge. This course is, I've had people take it from all different levels, but this course is really good for those because I go very, like, let's start with the energy of it, clearing the chakras. Let's really get connected here. Then let's connect to your guides. Let's connect to your inner child. And so we build. And then one of the things that I find is the biggest game changer is in session 4. We go into forgiveness and we look at where we're holding a lot of shame and guilt, which is what I said earlier, will keep you out of alignment.
Mhm.
Number 5 is called Fire. That's session 5. It's on passion, but we look at sexual guilt because it's really important for us to release the sexual guilt to manifest, more easily. So we look at that, and you may think, well, I don't have any sexual guilt. You might be surprised because people are often surprised.
Yeah.
So, and then of course we put it all together for manifestation. So what it does is it gives you not only clearings, because there's overall 18 meditations, but it not only gives you clearings, but it gives you tools that I think of it as my either little backpack or my little fanny pack of spiritual tools, so that I'm walking through life and all of a sudden I'm triggered or I'm wanting to create and I don't know what to do. Oh, what tool did I learn from the worthiness quotient? And you do it and you raise your vibration and get more receptive. So that is a game changer. I had one woman who was kind of beta testing it for me during the pandemic, and she had been furloughed from her company because everybody was laying off. She ended up carrying the whole company for that month of April. She says, I just focused on your class. And she said, business just kept flooding in over the phone. She was blown away. She said, I couldn't believe it. She goes, I carried the whole company. She wrote me a beautiful testimonial. So that was pretty cool, right? To see
Yeah,
the
that's
changes.
awesome.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So anyway, you can check that out at terribritt.com/worthy. And because you guys have listened to this point, and I did this very inexpensively because I know a lot of people, when they haven't fully owned their worth, won't spend the money on themselves. So I mean, the course is only $297, but if you put in the coupon code TALK, TALK, you'll get 50% off. I mean, I want,
That's a no-brainer, right? It's like, that's a couple of dinners out or,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
things
I
like
mean, it is
that.
so worth it and especially if if you've come from a cycle of being on the hamster wheel, and whether you can relate to the story of being the best, if you've got beliefs about I need to be good, and you may not even think of it that way, you may feel like, I have to do it this way or have to do it that way. That in essence is I need to be good. And then if you really drive yourself hard, there's a chance that you're running that belief, I need to be the best. We want to get rid of all that.
Mhm.
We want to get
Yes.
rid of and just say, I am who I am, and that's enough.
Mhm.
Not with defensiveness, but with love.
Wonderful. I love this. Total no-brainer, that program. Everybody needs this program. And in closing, I would love for you to share with us intuitively, what are you most feeling guided to bring forward?
My next book.
Okay.
I just did a talk in Los Angeles and for She Talks, and I'm part of a book series called Women Gone Wild. It's an anthology. WILD is a acronym for a new definition of wealth, intuition, leadership, and diversity. It's kind of like a chicken soup for the soul, but it's the feminine guide
Yeah.
to fearless living. And after that talk, I felt, okay, it's time to write this next book.
Yeah.
And that is where that's where it's going next. That's where and I'll keep you posted as to what it's named, because I'm not even sure. I thought it might be called the worthiness quotient, but I'm not sure that that's the name.
Yeah. So if
So
someone wants to stay posted and stay connected with you, where's the best place for them to go?
Facebook is really good. You can go to Terri Britt, and then we have a private community called Women Leaders of Love. You just do @Women Leaders of Love on Facebook. We do a free call every Wednesday called Own Your Worth Wednesdays. I take questions. We do it live. So that's a great place to connect with me. And I'm on Instagram and all those different places. Are you going to have those in the post note?
Yeah,
The post
absolutely.
note?
Yep. All of the info you provided us will be in the notes for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So that's where.
Food for the soul. What a beautiful conversation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I really appreciate the work you're doing. I can see your light. I can see
Oh,
your
thanks.
essence, and I can see your heart. I could tell by the questions that you asked where you are very much in alignment with this conversation. And I just want to give my hands up to you and say thank
Oh,
you for the work you're doing.
oh, that really means a lot, and I fully receive that. Thank you so much for seeing me.
You're welcome.
And thank you for all that you do as well. I'm just so excited for the time that we're living in and all of the changes that are happening. Embracing change. It's
Me too.
awesome.
Me
Thank
too.
you. Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.